To get faster around the Australian Grand Prix circuit, you need to watch this top 1% hot lap. 4th gear exiting the final corner to keep the speed up, DRS open and run to the first corner. We did improve on this lap, but the next lap you're about to see is even better. Brake at 70 metres, shift down to 5th or 6th gear, turn in at 50 metres and start releasing off the brakes before you get to the inside curb, even on the throttle too. Fully cut the corner up to track limits and full throttle when you leave it, driving the car to the outside which becomes the inside line, holding the same gear to maintain stability using all of the curb and green patch for the best racing line. Allow the steering to free up and let the car drift right, and riding the curb is optional. DRS open again and get ready for the most technical section of the circuit. Brake out or just before 100 metres, as before, turn in at 50 metres, start to bleed off the brakes all well before the apex and shift down to 3rd. Brush your wheels on the inside curve for rotation, but be careful of instability and open up the steering to help with throttle application. Then bring the car almost all the way to the right of the circuit to open up the next corner. Up to 4th gear, turn in with an aim to get as close as you can to the inside curb without touching it. Even though you're going into a corner, shift up to 4th so you are stable throughout the turn and don't need to change gears whilst traction is limited. A slight lift off the throttle, but back on again as you leave the inside curb, then use all of the exit curb to your advantage. Bring the car to the left of the circuit to open up turn 5 as much as possible, sit gear then looking to stay flat out at the same time as trying to avoid the curbs as best you can, but brushing both the inside and outside curbs is absolutely fine. Travel down the small straight, brake at 60 metres but only for a short moment, not even fully lifting off the throttle here at the same time as changing to 6th gear. Also turning in hard, looking to fully cut the inside with the centre of the car over the green and yellow curb. Fully on the power now, we're on top of the curb and drive to the track limits on exit, taking caution as the circuit comes out towards you. Hold the car to the inside down the twisty straight to minimise track distance and activate DRS as soon as you can. It's crucial to change the brake bias and differential throughout the lap, so make sure that you go back and check it out to gain more lap time. Move all the way to the outside of the track, turn into the corner just after the 50-metre board and look to cut the inside as much as possible, potentially even more than we've done here, but don't brake. You can either lift off the throttle and stay in 8th gear or do as we have done and keep it flat out but shift down to 7th gear to use engine braking instead. Back to full power once you've left the curb if you aren't already, placing the car just left of centre and turn into turn 10 with 100% throttle. Cut the inside curb hard again, then use all of the curb on exit without exceeding track limits. DRS open, minimise track distance, subscribe to LSI Racing and move to the left. Brake at the 60-metre board, shift down the gears quickly for engine braking and turn into the corner just as the right hand sidewall starts to disappear at the same time as releasing the brakes before reaching the inside. 3rd or 4th gear and already on the power just before you get on top of the inside curb, then riding all of the green and yellow curb but avoiding the red sausage curb entirely. Power out and use all of the track available. Hold 6th gear and keep it flat through turn 12, brushing the inside curb and using all of the curb on exit but prioritising bringing the car to the right hand side of the track. Brake at 60 metres, use all of the track on entry to open up the racing line, then turn in just after you pass the black box on the top right, releasing off the brakes at the same time and fully off them just before the apex as always. Start applying the throttle, get as close as you can to the inside curb without touching it, then as you leave the curb, rotate the car while still maintaining traction as best as possible to bring the car to the left of the centre of the circuit. Once you're there, turn in, aiming for an early apex. 4th gear, do not touch the inside curb, either keep it flat out if you can or go for a very small lift for stability if needed. Let the car drift wide and use all of the track without going out of track limits. DRS, then a long run up to the line to set a 1:14.585, and that's how you get into the top 1% of drivers in the world. The setup for this video is on screen now, and if you want to tailor this for the race situation, decrease the rear wing slightly for lower drag and more rotation. Be sure to change the on differential throughout the lap depending on what part of the circuit you're in. Keep the off differential the same as well as engine braking, although this can be reduced slightly for stability if needed. Leave the suspension geometry as it is to improve lap time. Leave the front suspension as it is but stiffen the rear suspension slightly. Soften the front and rear anti-roll bar slightly for a more stable car, then increase the front ride height marginally. Reduce the brake pressure to 99% but change the brake bias throughout the lap depending on the corner and what feels comfortable. With the tyres, bring all the tyre pressures all the way to the maximum and only reducing slightly if you are struggling for low speed traction. Good luck and let's race.